New at 4, former President Donald Trump has appealed a state Supreme Court decision that removed him from the Colorado primary ballot.
That appeal was filed in the last 2 hours. Trump is asking the U.S. Supreme Court to determine he is qualified to run for office. 9 News political reporter Marshal Fire has been reporting on this case. It is so complicated. You understand it. The Colorado Republican Party already appealed to the U.S. Supreme Court, but now Trump is seeking something that the GOP did not.
Yeah, he's specifically asking the U.S. Supreme Court to say he did not engage in insurrection like the Colorado Supreme Court determined. This is the second appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court. The Colorado Republican Party appealed last week, and yesterday the 6 Colorado voters supporting the Supreme Court decision to take up the case, as did Democratic Secretary of State Jena Griswold. Trump's appeal basically dittos the Colorado Republican Party appeal, but it makes these three specific points: that the office of president is not bound by Section 3 of the 14th Amendment that can disqualify someone from holding office again. The appeal says that Congress should decide someone's eligibility for running for office under the 14th Amendment and that it's not something for state courts to decide. And the newest tidbit is that Trump wants the nation's highest court to reverse the Colorado ruling that he engaged in insurrection on January 6th. It seems certain the the U.S. Supreme Court will have to take this case, particularly with the Secretary of State in the state of Maine disqualifying Trump because of the 14th Amendment. You also have that administrative issue in Maine, a legal issue in Colorado. So let's say the Supreme Court does take this up. The justices have been asked to move fast so that the eligibility question can be determined before March 5th, when Colorado and several other states hold their primaries.
And that's unusual, right? For them to make a decision that quickly? Highly unusual.
Here saying, yes, we'll take it, hear the arguments, and make a decision, that is rare. I'm not the expert in how rare, but yeah, this is something that would normally, we've had several cases, like the Masterpiece Cake Shop case. Yeah. We've had the faithless elector, where someone wanted to vote for someone other than, God, I'm already drawing a blank. It was the Biden presidency, where they wanted to fill someone else's name in. And so it was, those cases took time, years, I want to say, before it was appealed through the courts, and then ultimately got to the U.S. Supreme Court, and then months and months before the oral argument, and then months went by before the decision. Yeah, this is truncated for sure.
Yeah. Well, so many people had debated, like, if they could have a way that they could technically pass on it or move on. But the way this appeal is filed, it sounds like they kind of have to take it.
By doing nothing, it doesn't solve the dilemma of states by states doing different things that would mean that Trump might be left off the ballot in some states and might be on the ballot in some states, and it just doesn't seem like the best option when the option is for the highest court in the land to say, here is what is happening now.
And since we were first, does that mean it sets the precedent? If they act on Colorado, then it trickles down to all the others who have made their, cases?
You have Colorado and Maine involved, and Michigan had said this wasn't up to us to decide. Right. So you bring all that into play, but a decision by the U.S. Supreme Court would trickle down to all the states to have to abide by. Now, Colorado's election law is different than other states' election law, which is how we got here in the first place. Our election law allows someone to go to court and say, this person is not qualified to run for that office, and we need a court to say, you, Secretary of State, do not put that person on the ballot. That's what our law says. Michigan's law didn't allow for a voter to come and do that, and that's why Michigan's Supreme Court basically said, not our place to decide.
Okay. Wow. Iowa caucus a week and a half away or something like that. So this is, woo! All right. Thank you, Marshall. You got much more coming up on 5 o'clock and at next.
Yeah, I do.
Thank you.
All right, we're not done with this topic just yet, because today we also learned Oregon won't be ruling on their case until at least next week. Oregon's Supreme Court is asking Trump and the advocacy group challenging the ballot to file additional legal briefs. They're looking to find out if the Secretary of State has the authority to determine candidate qualification. Oregon Secretary of State doesn't think she does, at least not yet. She asked the court to throw out the case, saying her authority only applies to the general election and not the primary. The 3 suspects accused of throwing a rock and killing a young woman while she was just driving home, they now know when they'll go to trial.
Joe Koenig, Mitch Carolczyk and Zachary Kwok all appeared in court in Jefferson County this afternoon. They're facing 13 charges. Police say they threw a rock through Alexa Martel's windshield as she was driving on Indiana Street near the Rocky Flats National Wildlife Refuge last April. Other drivers reported their cars were also hit by rocks. The judge delayed the arraignment for the three suspects but set trial dates. The three suspects will be tried separately. Carolczyk will go first on June 7th, followed by Kwok on June 24th and Koenig on July 19th.
The city of Denver has closed a massive homeless encampment filled with migrants who've arrived from the southern border.
The camp at Spear and Zuni has grown to more than 300 people, and today the city promised housing or shelter for everyone. 9 News reporter Mark Salinger was there as the tents were cleared away. Mark.
Yeah, this is the first time that the city has swept a camp full of migrants and then offered housing in return. Some will be allowed to stay in shelters, others will be moved into apartments, and the city is also paying for bus tickets for people who are wanting to move to other cities. Now, the camp off Spear in northwest Denver had grown to such a huge size after all these migrants arrived here and then timed out of the shelters after 14 days. They had nowhere else to go, so they started camping on the street. So as Denver shelters reach a record number of migrants that they're sheltering, Mayor Mike Johnston now says Denver has received the most number of migrants per capita of any city in the United States. Today he told me it's unsustainable.
Not sustainable. This is not sustainable, and for a couple of reasons. You know, I've been talking to the federal government about the three challenges we have. One is folks here need work authorization. Council President Pro Tem and I just had 47 conversations. Every one of them is exactly the same. Mr. Mayor, how can I find a job? I just need a job. That's the single most important thing. The second is
and of course, none of this is free. Johnston told City Council yesterday this could cost Denver $180 million this year. He said if that estimate becomes reality, it would cause some very challenging budget decisions, of course. For context, Denver spent around $50 million on solving homelessness last year. This could be more than 3 times that amount.
Yeah, we just reported those numbers yesterday, so it's pretty astonishing when you think about this.
Yeah, it's a huge number, but you say, where does that money go to? It's things like this, moving people off the streets and into housing. Someone has to pay for that.
Yeah, and they need help, and they're begging for help, and it's cold, and they're living in tents. You know, this is not. I mean, it's so inhumane.
And what you saw that the mayor said there, everybody wants to work. Every conversation that I've had with anybody who's living on the street that's a migrant says, I want to work. I just need that authorization. I want to make the money to support myself. At this point, they aren't given that opportunity.
All right, thank you, Mark.
XL is facing another lawsuit over what started the Marshal Fire 2 years ago. Families are already suing the company, and now Target has filed its own lawsuit. A lawsuit blames XL and power lines for starting the fire. The lawsuit also alleges lines from CenturyLink and Teleport share the blame. The fire destroyed more than 1,000 homes and damaged the Target in Superior. That store had to stay closed for repairs for, certainly half of 2022. The building had fire damage on the roof and water damage from sprinklers.
Let's take a live look outside. It was our last dry day before some changes roll into town. It's always a question about how they roll in. Like
Well,
if
they're
it's
coming.
a slow roll or it's a whoosh, Lauren.
Slow roll.
Okay, it's a slow one.
Certainly slow roll. Wow. I'm not going to say those two words together again.
You got it.
Roll. Just go slow.
It won't be quick.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Well, today was our last sunny day for the stretch of days that we're going to see coming ahead because we do have cloud cover, we have chillier temperatures, we also have some snow. Now, tomorrow's snow is not expected to move into the Front Range or even northern portions of the Eastern Plains until late day tomorrow. We're not going to wake up to any snow, and hopefully it doesn't fall until most of us are home from work, so those roads really won't be an issue. But we take a look right now at our current conditions, 42 degrees at DIA. We already have that cloud cover starting to build in. Winds coming in from the southeast at around 16 miles per hour, making it feel closer to 34 degrees on the skin. Now, as we take a look at our HD Doppler radar, here's that slow roll off to the west. It's pushing its way through portions of the Four Corners region already, but we're going to continue to watch for this to move further into Colorado as we go throughout our Thursday. Now, coming up ahead in my 7-day forecast, we are going to talk about our very mild evening ahead tonight, but we do have those snow showers rolling in late day tomorrow, and we're going to continue to see on and off snow showers as we move through the rest of the weekend and into early next week. So I'll plan that out for you a little better in my 7-day forecast just ahead.
All right, Lauren, thank you. Right now, Denver police are looking for a man they say posed as a rideshare driver to kidnap and sexually assault women. Police believe there may be more victims out there. In March of last year, police arrested Adrian Alamillo Gonzalez for 2 different incidents that happened in 2022 and 2023. In the first case, he forced a woman in his car as bars in downtown Denver were letting out. The woman fought back for several blocks and he ended up dropping her off. In the second incident, he posed as a rideshare driver and picked up a woman and groped her in an alley. He's facing 5 felony counts for kidnapping, attempted sexual assault, and unlawful sexual contact. Alamillo Gonzalez failed to appear for his court date in December, so now Denver police say anybody who believes they may be victim of him to go ahead and give them a call. He's been in trouble for something like this before. Denver police say he was sentenced in 2010 to 12 years for a kidnapping case. We've asked when he was released and if he was still on parole at that time.